Hello, bonjour.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Yeah, bonjour. So we are going to start now. I don't want to delay. I have quite a lot to do today. And for as many that are coming, they will join us as we begin the class. All right, let's begin. In our last class, we dealt with adjectives. And with the adjectives we dealt with, that brings us to the end of adjectives generally. But there's something we didn't touch earlier, and I'll be touching it now. And as I touch it, we are going to look at some aspects that has to do with that particular course, and that is nouns. So I want to run through nouns this morning very quickly, and then I'll go to adverbs. Then we're going to deal with verbs later. So let's begin. Les noms. Nouns in French generally all right, I'm back. Let's go now. So we're talking about nouns in French. When we're talking about nouns in French, we're talking about something that is very, very vital. Now we've dealt with articles. And then from articles, we moved straight to adjectives and we omitted the noun. So I want to run through the noun this morning. You can have your notes, you want to write that. Now there are three things you want to look at as far as nouns in concern. On va encore la formation des noms en français. Deuxièmement, nous avons ce qu'on appelle les gens de noms. Et troisièmement, les faux amis et les confusions. Now, I want to run through these three things because students over the years have had issues dealing with the formation of the plurals of nouns, which is easier, and then the faux amis aspect. Now, let's begin with la formation des noms, for example. La formation des noms. Now, when you say la formation des noms, now, the very first thing you must know is that, comme les adjectifs que nous avons abordés la fois passée, on a juste généralement le S pour former les pluriels. Néanmoins, il y en a des variétés. There are different variations in forming the plurals of nouns. The very first one is when the noun ends in EU or AU in French. Just like the adjective, they take an X. And a typical example of that is the noun, let's say, neveu. That's your nephew. For the nephew, neveu, Neveu. To have the plural, you add your X to it. That's the rule for that particular one. The next example I want to give you, take this word pneu. That is tire. Now, for pneu, there is a difference. It doesn't take an X, it takes an S. So you want to take note of those issues as we go deal with French nouns generally. I'm rushing through this aspect because that's not the emphasis. The second thing is when a noun ends in AL in French, it becomes AUX, like the adjective. So we are going back to it now. Let's say we have, for example, something like editorial. We call it editorial. Now, when you have editorial, you are going to have editorial as the plural of noun in that particular context. But beyond that, I'm so concerned with nouns that ends in AIL. Take, for example, you have travail. Now, for travail, you're going to have travaux as a plural. However, Nouns that ends in AIL in French generally, they don't take X most of the time. They take an S. For example, we have Chandal, Chandal. They take an S to form their plural. Those are the basic things I want you to note. Now, there's another issue I wanted to bring to your attention, but I'm rushing through this one. And that is when you have things like a verb, an adverb, a prepositions, or even pronouns, and then they now to have their plural, only the first noun is pluralized. Let's say you want to say a masterpiece in French, you say chef d'oeuvre. Chef d'oeuvre. One of you are just joining the class, you're welcome. I'm just going through the nouns and then we're going to see how far we can go. So I've mentioned different termination of nouns, which you know already. And then let's move ahead to what I want to talk about. Now, this is the takeaway for nouns in French. There are nouns in French that are plural, but in English they are singular. There are other nouns in French that are singular in English, they are plural in French. Now, I want to give you some of them. So please pick up your pen and paper wherever you are now and make sure you write this down. It's important. Number one, let's say you have furniture. Furniture in English is a singular word. But in French, you don't furniture is not singular, it is plural. So some nouns are generally plural. We call them les meubles. Les meubles. Meubles. Les meubles. That's furnitures. Les meubles. The next thing is hair. Your hair, for example, that's a noun. Your hair. Your hair could be singular, you say hair, generally in English. But in French, you say les cheveux. It's always pluralized. The next one is applause. You want to applaud somebody for doing something very good. You want to clap for the person. Great. Now, how do you say applause in French? Applause is always a plural noun in French. We call them les applaudissements. Now, why am I bringing those nouns to you? Why am I emphasizing on them? Because these are where students make mistakes over the years, especially beginners in French, studying French from with those that have English background. So that's the reason we're looking at them. So they call it say les applaudissements. That is applause. You have fruits in English, but we call them les fruits in French. Is always plural. Les fruits in French, always plural. Now, the next one you are going to have is progress. Now, as you go on in life, you make progress. You're in 100 level before, you're in 200 level. Au cours des années, on fait des progrès, généralement. So, as you make progress, that word progress is a noun, an abstract noun, by the way. But in French, it is always a plural noun. We call it le progrès. Now, what we call information. Yeah, information is not information generally. Now, information is called renseignement. Now, this renseignement is always a plural noun. So you have les renseignements. So these are just some examples of nouns in French that are always pluralized, though they can be singular in English if you are coming from the English background. Now let's reverse it. You also have nouns in French that are singular, but in English they are plural. Take for example trousers. We say trousers in English, plural. But in French, we call them le pantalon, singular. Now, you also have something like grape. Grapes, eat grapes is plural in English, but in French, they are singular. We call them du raisin, manger du raisin, that is to eat grapes. Now, the next example I want to give you is with the days of the week. Let's say Saturdays. Okay, let's use Mondays. Mondays we have for 210. In French, that Mondays that is pluralized in English is singular because it expresses habitual action. So I'm going to say le lundi. So when I say le lundi, on a for those Sundays, that is on Mondays. So it's plural in English, but we use the singular form in French. So those are things you want to take note of as far as the plurals of nouns are concerned, and nouns generally in English and French. That's the dichotomy you want to have there. Now let's look at another thing that is very important. If there are times you have, for example, in English, let's say people are doing the same action. Let's say men are smoking, or let's say, okay, let's use smoking for example. Popular husband about smoking one way or the other. Men are smoking. Now, when you say men are smoking their pipes, you say their pipes in English. That pipes will be in plural. But in French, because everybody is doing the action, that action is going to be in the singular. Write this sentence down if you can. Let's say we have ils ont travaillé très dur pendant leur vie. Ils ont travaillé. That is, they worked very hard in their lifetime. Ils ont travaillé longtemps pendant leur vie. You are going to find out that leur vie will be L-E-U-R and V-I-E. Travailler longtemps. Tout le monde, tous les hommes travaillent. Tout le monde travaille. Because everybody is carrying out the action individually, though it's everybody, which is supposed to be plural. That action is going to be expressed in the singular in French. So these are things I want you to take note of. So, like I said earlier, when we met the last time, in exam condition, to test your knowledge of French grammar, all somebody needs to do is just to pick a sentence like that and add the X and make it plural and tell you to correct if necessary. And if you don't know that, because everybody's kind of the action is going to be in the singular, you might miss it in the long run. So all right, when you say le gouvernement, for example, government is plural. But because we're saying government, we're using a singular word. We say le gouvernement. You say le public is also plural originally, public, general public, but is expressed in the singular in French. And I want you to take note of them because they are important. Now, when you have nouns like that that are plural but expressed in the singular, when conjugating the verbs, you're going to use the singular verb. Take this sentence, for example. You have le gouvernement a décidé de maintenir sa position. The government decided to maintain its position. Le gouvernement a décidé de maintenir sa position. Now, le gouvernement, the government is singular, is plural on a normal sense, but it's expressed as an entity, so it's going to be singular. So that is what you must take note of. Let's say we have the crowd now, a whole crowd of people going in a particular direction. You're going to say la foule for the crowd avançait dans la rue. Let's say there is a protest, people are walking on the street, saying la foule avançait. Though the crowd is plural, however, is expressed as singular because la foule is captured as a singular noun in French, though it is plural. So these are aspects you don't want to joke with. You want to take note of them. They are very, very important. Now, having said that, there are certain nouns in French that are always plural. They are always plural, and you translate them that way even to English. Let's say we have les mathématiques is always plural. Les mathématiques is always plural. Think note of that. Number two example is les environs. Les environs is always plural. Now let's say you have vacances, holidays is always by saying les vacances is always plural. Now darkness is always plural in French. Say les ténèbres is always plural in French. The next one is les livres is always All right. Like I said, those nouns are always plural. Those lists I just gave you, and there are quite a lot of them in French. So as you go ahead looking at the plurals of nouns, know that some nouns will always be plural. And you have examples like les mathématiques, les ténèbres, les funérailles, les vacances, les livres, les environs. These are always plural. Now, please, I want you to write the list of these nouns. We want to discuss them now. Look at the word Jean, Gens, Jean, Jean. Then, as we look at the word Jean in French, that word Jean, I write another one, personne. Those two. Let's analyze two of them now. Les gens, they have personne. Now you use Jean. When you use that noun Jean to refer to people, you can never use a number to qualify it. It's important. It's impossible. Now, for you to qualify people with number, you have to know what we call personne. Let's have this for example now. Il y avait des gens devant la porte. That is, there are people in front of the door. Il y avait des gens devant la porte. Let me give you another example. Il y avait des gens dans la classe. There are people in the class. John, G-N-S. Now, when I use John for people, I cannot use a number to qualify it. If I want to use a number to qualify people, I'm going to use person. Let's say we have 10 people. I cannot say we avait 10 gens devant la porte. No. I would say il y avait 10 personnes devant la porte. So when you use John, you don't use numbers to qualify. You cannot tell us how many people are there. When you use person, you can tell us the number of people that are there. So we have, il y avait des gens dans la classe, et il y a 10 personnes dans la classe. You cannot say il y a 10 gens dans la classe. So that is an example you want to take note of. Number two example to take note of is this noun argent, money. Write it down. Money, argent. Now, when you use this noun argent in French, it is always singular. Argent. Now, you have argent is always used in the singular. You cannot say les agents. It does not exist. Students make that mistake. Argent is always singular. Take this sentence, you might have, and it always refers to money in that sense. L'argent always refers to money at that singular sense. Let's say we have, elle m'a donné de l'argent. She gave me money. Or let's take another example. This popular proverb in French. L'argent ne fait pas le bonheur. L'argent ne fait pas le bonheur. That is, money does not guarantee happiness. Now that argent there is always in the singular. So you want to take note of that particular sentence. Now, the next noun I want you to take note of that is always bringing issues to students learning French is the noun vacances. Write it down. Vacances. I told you when it refers to holiday or vacation, les vacances is always in the plural. Les vacances. Let's say les vacances de Monsieur Sylvers. Let's say I'm on holiday right now. I'm no longer in Benin. I travel out of Benin. Les vacances. It's always going to be in the plural. Les vacances des professeurs. Les vacances des étudiants. After your semester exam, you have les vacances, holidays. We say les vacances des étudiants. So that is always in the plural sense. However, when you want to use that word vacances to indicate that there is a void of power, that is, there is a void created. Let's say there is a void of power. Nobody is in power. Let's say the president is hoisted hard, like the case of the coup d'etat in Africa some time ago. And you want to use that word vacance to refer to the fact that there is void in power. It's not going to be in the plural. Let's say we have la vacance du pouvoir. That is void of power. Nobody is in charge. There is a void in power. There is void in power. La vacance du pouvoir. So that is the difference. When it refers to holiday, it's always plural. When it refers to the lack of something, like power, for example, it's in the singular. So that is what you should take note of as far as nouns are concerned. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about as far as these nouns are concerned is what we call les gens et sexe. des noms. Les gens et sexe des noms en français. Now, when you say les gens, généralement en français, la langue française, on fait attention aux gens. On a les gens masculins, les gens féminins. Now, very briefly, I want to show you how the gender you give to a particular noun can change the noun, can change the meaning of the noun. Look at this word, bébé, un bébé. You will never hear une bébé. No. The word bébé is always masculine. Not that for today. Whether it's a female child or a male child, the word bébé is always masculine. And so you cannot say une bébé. It's always going to be un bébé. So that is it. Now, there are certain nouns in French that are always masculine, and I'll give you bébé for example. Let's say another one that is very common, assassin, an assassin. It's always going to be masculine. It's going to be masculine in its gender. Now, there are other examples. Let's say an adversary, an adversary. Whether it's a female adversary or is the adversary is a male, that word adversary is always going to be masculine. That's for that. Take another example, an agent, an agent, A-G-E-N-T, an agent. Whether it's a female agent or a masculine agent, is always going to be masculine. That is how it works. Then let's say ange, an angel. That word angel is always masculine, is not feminine. Let's say a tyrant, un tyran, is always going to be masculine. Un tyran is always going to be masculine in gender. Now, a guide, un guide, is always going to be masculine, whether it's a male or a female, that is the guide. Let's say a witness in a court, during a court case, un témoin, is always going to be masculine, is not going to be feminine. So these categories of nouns, this kind of nouns are always masculine. Let's say Victor, un vainqueur, is always going to be masculine, is not going to be feminine in gender. So take note of those, they're very, very important. Let's look at the reverse case. While there are nouns that are always masculine, there are also nouns that are always feminine in French, and there is nothing you can do about it. Let's say you have the noun une personne. You cannot say un personne. No, it does not exist. It's always going to be une personne, whether it's a man or a woman that comes. I want to say somebody came to look for you. Une personne est venue te chercher. Somebody came, it could be a male or a female. Une personne is always going to be a feminine noun. The next noun is une star. A star is always going to be a feminine. Now, une victime, a victim, whether it's a male that is a victim or a female that is a victim, it is always going to be feminine. Une victim. Une victim. That is how it was. Une victim. The next thing is, let's say another example. Une vedette, that's like a synonym for une star, is always going to be a feminine noun. So these are some examples we have looked at so far that nouns, the plurals of nouns, some nouns are always plural. And I've also seen the fact that some nouns change depend on the usage. Now I've also seen that some nouns are always going to be masculine or feminine, depending on, it doesn't matter whether it's a male or a female. The next thing we want to look at now is the meaning of nouns. Variation in the meaning of nouns because of the gender attack. La variation avec les noms. Now, as you look at this list of nouns I'm going to give you very soon, the meaning changes when you use a masculine gender or a feminine gender. The meaning changes. One of you are just joining us, you are welcome. We have a few more minutes for the class. We're going to continue later in the afternoon. But let's be done with this nouns. Look at this noun, for example, post. When you use the word post, P-O-S-T-E, post. If you use un post, une post, the meaning is different. Now, let me give you an example in a sentence to make it clearer. You have elle s'occupe un poste important. Now, when you say un poste at the masculine level, it refers to somebody's position. Un poste, like the HOD, un poste, vice-chancelier, un poste, le président. That is what it means. It refers to somebody's position at the place of work, for employment. You're applying for a job, un poste, masculine. Now, when you say la poste, you are talking about an institution like a post office. Let's say I have j'envoie la lettre par la poste. I'm sending the letter through the post office. J'envoie la lettre par la poste. So that is what you should note. So when you use la in a place of lo, it alters the meaning. So you must know the one you are trying to talk about. If it's position somebody is applying for, position somebody is occupying is le poste. Now, for a post office, it's going to be la poste. So the same spelling, but the article changes the meaning altogether in French. Another example, aide, AIDE. When you say an aide, it means an assistance. You want to donner an aide. I'm going to give you an assist. I'm going to give you, no, you move for an aide. I need an assistant. I need an assistant. An aide is an assistant, a position. I need an assistant. Let's say they usually wants a secretary, an assistant. You say, Imofo Aned. I need an assistant. But if I say you want to donate Yun Ed, I'm going to give you assistance. I want to help you. So the first one, an ed, refers to a person, a position. The second one refers to an action I'm going to carry out, an assistance. Now the second one is, example is critique, the word critique. You have une critique. That is, you're talking about you're talking about criticism, a review of a work. If I say fais une critique d'un roman, that is, criticize the novel, talk about the novel, discuss this novel. We call it une critique. But if I say il est un critique, is a person. The person is called an critique. So that is what you must note as far as this is concerned. The next thing example is un livre. When you say un livre, it's a book. I'm saying j'ai un livre. Un livre en phonétique. I have a phonetic textbook. But I say j'ai un livre. That is a pound. That is money. That is, I have a pound sterling. J'ai un livre. Look at another example. If I say un tout, je vais prendre un tout. I'm going to take a walk. But if I say il y a une tour dans la vie, that is, there is a tower. One of them is a walk, the other one is a tower. So please, we have seen so far that adding or using the masculine or feminine gender to qualify a noun can change the meaning altogether. So please, you want to take note of them and avoid any form of confusion along the way. Finally, now, I'm going to wrap up with this as far as nouns are concerned. You don't want to write it down. They are very, very important. They are very, very important. We call them les faux amis. When we say les faux amis in French, these are where students have issues in translation studies. Les faux amis, false friends, they appear to be the same if you are coming from the English background. Look at this word, address. The spelling varies. There's an extra S, there's an E at the end with one D in English. You have example. For English, the spelling is A. So these are kind of things. You have appartement, you have comité, you have correspondant, you have confort. You have things like literature. For French, there is double T. For English, one T. Literature, literature. We call them the faux amis. They look alike. They look alike. Or call them the faux amis. That's the level of orthograph. Now let's come back to French fully. Les faux amis. You have heard the word nuit before, la nuit, and the word soirée. Now, la soirée, la nuit. What is the difference? Now, if I say j'ai passé une belle soirée avec ma camarade hier, it doesn't mean I spent the night with my friend yesterday. No. It means I had a wonderful evening with her. From the hour of 7 to 11, I might be with I would have been with the person. Went, we had fun. For those that go to the club, we went to the club. Those that go to cinema, we went to the cinema. So that time you spend together is called soirée. Now, when you say la nuit, on parle d'un temps à environ 23 heures jusqu'au matin. That is from 11 p.m. till dawn, we call it la nuit. So students make interchange them over time, and in the long run, they make a mess in their writing. So la nuit, la soirée, il y en a des différences entre les deux. Essayez de dire la différence. La soirée commence à 17 heures jusqu'à 23 heures, la soirée. Et la nuit commence environ de 23 heures jusqu'au matin. Ça, c'est la nuit. The next example is la chambre, la pièce. Aha. La chambre, la pièce. Now, quelle est la différence entre la chambre et la pièce? What is the difference between what we call la chambre et la pièce as far as French is concerned? Now, the example will make it easier for you. Let's say I say une chambre à coucher. Une chambre à coucher. A bedroom. Une chambre à coucher. If I said une salle, that is pièce. So a pièce refers to just a room, whereas chambre is used for where we sleep. So take note of those two. So you can always replace pièce with salle. You can interchange both of them. The next faux ami you want to take note of as far as nouns are concerned is we'll call it Anjou et bless Anjou, bless you. When you say quelque chose injurieux, that is, it refers to speech, les injures, insults, bad language used on people is called les injures. That's insults. Injure, injure. When you say bless you, it's injury in English. You bless you. Yeah, you play le résultat d'un accident. That is, it's from an accident. All right, so welcome back. The next pose I mean, as far as nouns are concerned in French, is of librairie et la bibliothèque. Librairie is the bookshop. On fait des achats de livres dans la librairie et on fait la lecture des recherches dans la bibliothèque. Ça, c'est la différence entre les deux. So, your bibliothèque is your library, your librairie is your bookshop. So, don't meet and change them and not be mistaken. Now, the next thing I want you to take note of is these words. We have encore la position, you have encore la poste, we have encore emploi. Now, when you say la position, it does not mean a place you occupy. Yes, know that for now. When saying position, that is your stance on issue. Let's say, for example, la position d'un critique pendant une critique. Let me use that way. La position d'un critique pendant une critique. That is the stance of a critic in his criticism. That is, if I say, okay, let me say, men are more successful than women in life. That's a position I want to take, for example. It's called une position. Une position. That is my stand. That is my belief. That's what I'm gunning for. When you're in a debate, that particular idea you support or oppose is called une position. Now, when you say post and employer, talking about employment opportunity. Mon post, professeur, I'm a lecturer. That is post or employer. So that is the difference between them. Now, your position can also refer to a particular place. Elle va dire que monsieur Sylvestre, quelle est votre position actuellement? As je suis à Ondo, that's my current station, that's where I am right now. That's where I'm located. Un endroit où on se trouve. Ça, c'est une position aussi. Now, beyond that, the next thing you want to look at is the word caractère, personnage. Maintenant, vous êtes en train de faire la littérature française. Oui, c'est très important d'apprendre cela. Now, in your literature, they will tell you parler sur le caractère des personnages. Quand you say le caractère, on parle de la psychologie d'une personne. The psychology of the person, the traits of the person, we call it les caractères. Now, when you say personnage, I'm talking about the characters in the novel. Le héros, la héroïne, you have l'antagoniste, le protagoniste. Those characters in the novel, they are called les personnages. They are not called les caractères. So don't make that mistake again. That's why I'm going back to nouns so that you don't miss it. That's why I'm going back to this study. Now, the last thing I want to talk of now, as far as this nouns is concerned, is monnaie, argent. I talk about l'argent initially, that l'argent has to do with the singular aspect. It's something with monnaie generally. Now, what's the difference? Quelle est la différence entre le mot argent et monnaie? Si on parle de l'argent généralement, on parle d'une pièce, une billet. That is all about money. Now, and it's always big. But when we say money, that is small money, we use money. Look at these two sentences to clarify. That's what we have. Avez-vous de l'argent? Do you have money? Do you have money? I'm not about money generally. But when somebody say, avez-vous de la monnaie? Do you have change? Now, when we go to restaurants and we pay for things, we don't ask for money in return, we ask for change in return. When you pay for something in the shop and have to give you change, let's use 500 naira as a Nigerian, for example, or as a Ghanaian, you use CDs, you want to ask for your change. That change you are asking for, you cannot say, donne-moi mon monnaie. No. Say, just say, donne-moi mon argent. No. Say, donne-moi la monnaie. La monnaie. That is, give me the change. La monnaie. So those are the things you want to take note of. And so you are welcome to this class again. And this is the end for nouns as far as the plurals of nouns are concerned. The force armies are concerned, the genders are concerned. We have seen how the meaning can change depending on the gender you are using with the noun. We also see that some nouns are always plural, whereas some are always singular. And so I'm going to take a bar here and allow you ask your questions if there is any. I've been talking for the last 40 minutes. And so if you have a question, the floor is open. I want to take your question now. And then we will say goodbye this morning to return by 2 p.m. So you're going to have 1 hour within now before your next class. So let's have your question. You can speak now. You can type your questions. I will see them and I will answer right now. So put your question at the comment section. While you are doing that, I'll just revise everything we've done. I'll just summarize now all we have done thus far. We have looked at nouns. We skipped it initially, but it's too important to be skipped. And I came back to them. And I will look at the formation of the plurals of nouns. La formation des pluriels, des noms. C'est le premier avec les adjectifs que nous avons fait. When the noun ends in AL becomes AUX, but AIL take S, except on words like travaux, which we are used to already. And then we have words that ends in EU take X, except in words like with a plo. I mentioned that. Then what about the genders of nouns? How does nouns can change meaning depending on the gender. We also see the plurals of nouns. That some nouns are always plural in English, but they're singular in French. Some are always singular in French, but they're plural in English. We'll deal with that one. And then we've seen how meaning changes with the use of the gender. When you say un critique, une critique, one is a person, the other one is the act of criticism. We have seen those examples. And so please type your question. I'm not seeing your question now. I want to answer them right away within the next 10 minutes. And I will bring the class to a close. So any question, you can type your question there. All right. For those of you who are appearing as guests, please you do well to subscribe so that next time you can just come in still without being guest. And that'll be very, very important. Okay, it seems there are no questions. In the afternoon, we are going to wrap up nouns, and I'm going to be teaching you very briefly two things in the afternoon. I'm not saying, okay, somebody has sent a question, let me go to the question now. Monsieur, please make a video about the gender of nouns so we can always download and watch anytime. Because I don't really understand that part of how nouns change meaning in a statement. Okay, let me come back. Nouns change meaning. Look, for example, in a time born critique. That unborn critique there means the person is a good critic. He can criticize things, he can judge things right. Now, let me say, take this example again. C'est une bonne critique. It means it's a good criticism. So the gender attached to the noun actually determine the meaning of the noun for nouns in that light. Now, another example, vacances is always plural. Vacances is always plural. And because vacances is always plural, but that is when it refers to holidays and vacations. However, when it refers to a void, like a void in power, like I mentioned initially, la vacance du pouvoir is going to be singular. La vacance du pouvoir is going to be singular. So that is how nouns change meaning in sentences. I want to believe you got your answer. If you are clear, you can just type on the chat section and then I will see it and know that you are clarified. So please type your question if you have any other one. We have a few more minutes. I don't want to exceed an hour. We're going to spend 45 minutes already. I want to make it 15 minutes so that you have at least an hour, 10 minutes to prepare and go for class. It's very, very important. So having said that, we are going to be looking at what we call les compléments du nom en français. Now, when you say complément du nom en français, we are going to look at the different complements. I want to look at the difference between English and French. I want to ask complements that are preceded with prepositions. That's when we come back in the afternoon. Then we're going to look at the infinitive as the complement of a noun. All right, I'm waiting for your messages. I'm not seeing, okay. Who else is sending a message? So you also requested for a video. I can't promise you a video today, but I will do my best. I would have loved to, but right now I'm a bit under the weather. I just had to have this class because we don't have enough time. The course is loaded. So I'm a bit under the weather. And because of that, I am not sure I can, and I have a lot of things piled up, but I will try and get a video across to you guys. What I will do if I can download these other ones on the live chat and then edit the ones I can edit and then re-upload it as a video. But let's see how it goes. So I will try and do that as well. So we are meeting in the afternoon. Please, I'm giving you 1 hour to have your time and prepare for the class. Please make sure you are set. I want everybody to be in class in the afternoon. We had only 12 people maximum this morning, and you missed quite a lot. In the afternoon, I will deal with noun complements. I'm going to deal with adverbs, and I'm going to go into verbs. So I'm dealing with 3 different things in the afternoon. So this is going to be the end of the class. I'll see you in the afternoon. Do have a wonderful time, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.